I guess we're still waiting for Jason. He's starting the next section, yes? You're muted still if you're talking. Jason.
About that.
Are you there, Jason? Oh, I think he might be having internet issues. Looks like Jason might be frozen, Lavisa.
I think he is. So let's move on to leave of absence. And if
I think he's logging back on because it went blank. So I would say go for it and then turn it over to him when he gets back in.
Okay. All right, leave of absence. We have a couple of clarifying edits here. Proposed language is, if a member encounters circumstances which temporarily prevent them from executing their duties as a member, but which do not preclude them from continuing to serve, the member shall inform the full commission and staff by email as soon as practicable. This will be considered a leave of absence. The member shall inform the full commission and staff of the expected duration of their leave of absence, but are not obligated to give a reason. Upon return from a leave of absence, the member shall inform the full commission by email of their return to active status and contact staff for a briefing on commission activities during their leave of absence.
Okay, pause for a second, Lavisa. Jason, can you speak up? I want to see if everything works.
My apologies for the internet and Comcast.
Yeah. If it's all right with you, Lavisa, do you mind if he wants to take over?
No, it's fine.
And the text has been read into the record. Can we hear some comments and questions?
I think people have no comment. I see some spirit fingers, Jason.
Let's move to a consensus decision. Do we see consensus in the room?
I do.
Hey, we just passed a piece of the bylaws in 10 seconds or less.
That was beautiful.
Let's move on.
So only the first part had been read in. So does that apply to this highlighted portion as well?
I'm sorry, I thought all parts had been.
Yeah, sir.
I'll read it into the record. No leave of absence may be taken in excess of 3 consecutive months. If the leave of absence extends beyond 3 consecutive months, the member will be asked to resign or be removed, recommended to council for removal. Any comments or questions about this edited section? Oh, and we're also including the item 3. No, let's just do item 2.
Okay, I see spirit fingers.
We have consensus for item 2. Thank you very much. Moving to item 3. Read it into the record. Members on leaves of absence will not be counted toward the commission's quorum requirement. Commissioner Handelman.
Again, I just say, let's put the provisional language in there.
Agreed?
Yep, I see spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers for agreement on adding the provisional language. Can we see if we have consensus for this item as edited?
I saw spirit fingers for everything.
Thank you. Let's moving on to the next item, item 4. I'll read it into the record. Members who do not attend a meeting may not seek to revisit issues from the missed meeting that were noticed on the agenda and on which discussion was completed at the missed meeting. Comment or questions? Seeing none, I would propose that this entire section be, oh, Sophia.
I wanted to chime in because I I had missed part of a meeting and was asking questions, but I was there for a vote. So does this mean a full meeting, or, you know? Like a meeting is already completed, like last week it was a meeting, and now you're voting on it this week. Let's just say I'm just giving a proposal. And I'm at the meeting to vote, but I want some clarification from the last meeting, not for discussion, but just clarification. It's not a
Commissioner
revisit.
Iona?
So I worked on this section, and I think we took this out of like the charter reviews. This was borrowed from some other commission's rules. And I think the whole idea then is that, you know, you're not spending your time at the meetings doing things over and over again, but that if you can see the agenda of the meeting that you missed, or the part of the meeting that you missed, because we have agendas for all of our meeting. So if you know that there's something that's coming up at the next one that you're going to have to decide on, then I think that the idea is the member who couldn't attend that one before can check in with staff, one of the co-chairs, somebody who can fill them in on what was discussed and answer questions, so that then when you come to the meeting and you're trying to conclude that whole topic, you'll know what was said, rather than having to have everybody revisit it. So I think it's meant to be sort of a time saver.
We will also at some point have recordings of these meetings available to watch online, and meeting summaries to review. And people who missed meetings, it's incumbent on them to talk to other members if they need details, but not to draw us all through a meeting already decided upon or already discussed issues for their own benefit.
I saw a nod and from Sophia and Dan. You had your hand up.
Oh, yeah, did you say Commissioner Glenn's going first?
No, I just said that they were nodding in.
Oh, okay. Well, the side note I put in, which you can still see in the margins here, has to do with in Robert's rules, which I know we're not following, but a person who is on the winning side of a vote can propose to bring it back up again. And I feel like, you know, if there's a commissioner who misses a meeting, is unhappy with the vote that went down, or wants further, you know, clarification on, you know, to add something to what was already voted on, and they are able to convince somebody who was at the meeting to revisit it, that there should be some way for that to happen. And or if somebody has thought about it from one meeting to the next and was at the meeting, there should be a way for that to happen. Because I feel like there may be times when we're going through things really fast, and then, you know, we leave a meeting and come back and go, hey, wait a minute. And I agree. I'm not looking forward to going back and revisiting things again and again and again, because I don't think that's going to be very helpful to finish our timeline. But we have to have it can't be a blanket prohibition of revisiting things. So I'm just wondering how people feel about that.
Sophia, and then Debbie.
I was just gonna agree with Dan. I was gonna ask the other question. So if somebody was already in the meeting and they wanted to rehash it, can they rehash it? So he already answered that. So I'll let Debbie go. Just say I was concerned and I thought it would, I don't know how to word it to say that, but that was a thought. Thank you.
And I'll just go ahead. And yeah, and I'm comfortable with that. You know, I mean, I observed that procedure where if you voted, in fact, sometimes I think people vote in favor of things, just so that they do have the opportunity to say, we need to bring it up again. So if you were present at the meeting and went through all, and then as a strategic move, you decided to vote yes, or you did vote yes, and again thought, oh, maybe that was the wrong thing. I think it makes sense. I think the whole idea is right, is people, we don't want to have to keep replaying the same information because somebody wasn't able to attend. But if it's a way to make sure that you're making good decisions by revisiting something, because that you were there for, then that makes sense. So I'm okay with that. And I think Commissioner Handelman, you actually had some language to suggest. I don't know if it's in this sidebar, but in one of your earlier drafts, but I'm sure someone can dig it up.
Thank you.
So is there Commissioner Iona, are you proposing that this text be amended?
Yes, I am. And adding that thing about the words that Dan talked about. I mean, we don't have to say Robert's Rules of Order, but we need to find whatever that says about if you were present and supported something, it is permissible to bring it up at a subsequent meeting.
How do we put issues to bed? How do we put issues to rest? I mean, there will be people who will say, we want to come back to this issue until it goes my way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sophia?
I'm just gonna snicker. I understand. It's like, let's not keep beating a dead horse, right? I don't know. I just to answer, Commissioner Renault, I don't know. I agree that we should be able to stop this nonsense if it keeps going, but at the same time, maybe even someone that wasn't there saw something in that decision that might be an issue. Can we put those things as, I don't want to say parking lot, but if it's not that important, it can be in a parking lot, right? But if it's important, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to stop rambling now.
Often in other committees, the power is given to the chair to gavel an issue closed. With a consensus model, that makes it more difficult, but we could give chairs power to end discussion.
I saw Lavisa's hand up, and then Samir has comments. Thank you, Jason.
Sure. I wanted to say that I think that it seems like the intention of this language is that it pertains specifically to leave of absence and people on a leave of absence, not bringing issues up when they come back from their leave of absence. And that if we wanted to, we could clarify, instead of members who did not attend a meeting, we might say members who are on a leave of absence may not seek to revisit issues from meetings they missed. And then if we wanted to, we could either include language somewhere else in the document specifying that this other particular issue that we're talking about, which is just the general issue of revisiting conversations, or
Excellent catch.
Or we can put it in the parking lot and include it in an operating document.
CMOB. Thank you, Lavisa.
Just curious that if there's consideration for language around members who do not attend a meeting may not seek to revisit issues from the missed meetings. Pardon my ignorance, but do we have our recordings that are of these meetings that are actually saved and can be revisited? Or an access point to be able to make sure that if there's a valid reason for somebody to miss this meeting, and it is a valid reason, that we provide a path that allows them to be caught up when they do need to come back.
Sorry, can answer that. They exist. There is an issue uploading them to the website post migration of the city's websites to new software that should be getting figured out this week or next. There've been several steps along the way, but it seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel on this one. Yes.
I'm just wondering, is
Commissioner
the staff?
Handelman.
Yes, thank you. Is the staff taking the transcripts and saving them? Because I've been doing that, and those can be sent to people who miss meetings as well. But just going back to the question from Co-Chair Lloyd, that yes, I agree that what other members can do should be in another section, but it should kind of reflect the language that Commissioner Iona said, and Commissioner Renaud about the chair. At the chair's discretion, a person who was on who agreed with the previous decision can revisit a previous topic or something like that, and that way, there is an endpoint.
CMOB, is your hands still up, or is that just down? Okay, thank you. Are there any more comments or questions about this?
Can we see the text, please? A little bit more. The text as item 3, text as typed in both the lime green and orangey red. Do we have consensus that that should be included in our bylaws? Sophia, yes. Dan, yes. Angie, yes.
Yes.
Larissa, yes. CMOB, thank you. We have consensus. Close the books on leave of absence. Moving on to the resignation process, item D, and I'll read it into the record. Members are expected to make good faith effort to complete their term. In cases where this is not possible, members are expected to provide notice of their resignation in writing to staff and co-chairs. I'll read the edited section also. No, I'm sorry, we'll just end at D. Any questions or comments about item D, resignation process? I see fingers. I see consensus. This is good. This is good. We did it. Moving on. Item E, loss of eligibility. Thank you, Samir. I'll read the edited section. Any member who no longer meets up the eligibility requirements specified in Resolution 37527 will be subject to removal. And those eligibility requirements are things like you're not a member of the Portland Police Bureau or living with one. And there are several. Sophia?
I just wanted to maybe if we could add should resign or be subject to removal.
Any other comments or questions?
I see a thumbs up from Angie. Thumbs up from.
Are we ready to consensus on item E as edited with Commissioner Glenn's addition? I see fingers.
I see Sophia's hand up as well. Is that old?
It's old. Sorry.
Both of Sophia's hands are up.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. That's item E. Loss of eligibility. Commissioner Lloyd, do you want to take over?
Sure, I think there will be one point here, but essentially item F, violation of community standards. This is adding language, so I'll read the edited add into the record. Violation of community standards. If any member acts in a manner that is in gross violation of the Police Accountability Commission community standards, they may be subject to referral for removal. Committee members can decide to refer another member for removal through unanimous vote of all seated members. that's the text is written, been brought to my attention that unanimous vote would include the person who is being voted on, and most likely would not be possible. So I would suggest I would opening this topic a bit for discussion, but I think it should be a high bar, but not impossible. Perhaps 80%. But I'd like to ask subcommittee members and commission members what they think.
See Sophia's hand.
I'd just like to ask, what are our other standards for voting? Just a reminder, because there might be some concern with having one standard for one thing and not on the other.
Sure. So right now, as written, our voting standard is modified consensus decision-making. So that would be consensus with no strong opposition. And if that fails, then affirmative vote of 60% of those present and voting.
Can we use that? I know you want to say 80, but I mean, I'm just trying to be consistent throughout with our voting.
Dan?
Well, I think it's okay to have different standards for things that when it's more serious thing, like forcibly removing a member for what, I think perhaps our operating rules can define what a gross violation is. I'm happy with that language being in the bylaws because it's clearly above just a minor violation. But I think it's okay to have it be 2/3 or unanimous votes of all the people other than the pet person. Because it's a very serious thing if we're accusing somebody of violating those standards. So I don't think it has to be the same kind of vote for this item. I think it probably should be higher threshold.
Commissioner Iota?
Yeah, and I think I'm not positive about this, but I think that like the legislature, if they want to raise taxes, they have to have if there's a higher bar than just passing regular legislation. So I don't think it's unheard of to have two separate standards as far as voting on certain decision-making things. And it is, when you're removing somebody, when the whole commission is deciding to remove somebody, it's quite a big decision. So I feel like I'm comfortable having a higher bar.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh, I would just like to say, I was just suggesting that because someone may say, why is it so much higher? That's all. I'm just questioning as to, if it happens, what might be some of the issues that come up. And I don't mind having it a bit higher than 60%. I mean, maybe 2/3. I don't know. Sounds good to me, but.
Are you speaking, Lisa?
Sorry, I was just trying to think about the numbers and 2/3. I think that we used a percentage above. I think we used 60%. So in order to be consistent with that, I do think using a percentage.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Sounds good.
How do folks feel about 80% as the threshold for recommending someone for removal? Or something outrageous, egregious, Yes.
I see one set of.
Okay, right. I think I'm seeing consensus. I'm seeing hands.
Yeah.
There's also a percentage vote document in the chat if folks want to look at that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dan sent that.
Okay. Any other thoughts, or are we ready to do consensus on the general language?
Could you hold just a moment while that is finalized?
Oh, sure. Thank you, Samir. Bless Samir, doing all this on the fly.
Dan said that he doesn't have 80% on that chart, but can add to it later. Just want to read that into the record.
Dan, I'll look at your chart real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't look at it.
I think Samir is finished.
It's good if Lavisa will
Okay.
continue.
So, thank you. Okay, I'll read it into the record real quick. Violation of community standards. If any member acts in a manner that is in gross violation of the Police Accountability Commission community standards, they may be subject to referral for removal. Commission members can decide to refer another member for removal with the approval of 80% of the other members of the commission. How do folks feel about that language?
May I ask one little question to Dan? Because I didn't see the chart. How many members would that be out of 20? I'm just wondering.
I'm working on it right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, I knew you said you
Well-
didn't have it. I was just kind of looking at the numbers, and that's all. It's just a curiosity.
Well,
And
we
I
never-
was,
It would be 15
Second.
out of 19 members. So 15, basically.
It would never be
Okay.
out of, it would never be out of 20 because it would be of other members of the commission.
I said
right.
15 out of,
Just add one person.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the percentage making partial people, right? That's all I was thinking. You know what I mean? 1.5, 15.4 people, or something like that. But yeah, it's good. I'm good with it.
Okay. So then I guess I saw consensus as well. So just want to confirm that.
Okay, great. Great. Fantastic. Great job, everyone. Okay, so moving on, I'll give staff just a moment. I believe the next thing on the agenda is communications. So I will read that into the record. Communications. Commissioners agree that transparency is essential to all information gathering, deliberations, and decision-making. A, interest groups. Commissioners shall notify staff and the full commission of verbal communications with interest groups. Commissioners are required to copy staff on all written communications from or to interest groups commenting on the commission's work. B, media. Media inquiries to the commission must first be directed to the co-chairs, who may delegate the media response to another commissioner or to staff. Commissioners are required to copy staff on all written communications from or to media commenting on the commission's work. C, all written communications between commissioners and the general public, interest groups, and media will be retained by staff. The public and commissioners will have access to these public records. Please refer to the communications guidelines for additional guidance. Any discussion? So,
Via.
Yeah, on B, I know the staff are designated as for media responses as well, and that maybe we should add some language to that's coordinated. Just to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music before giving a media response.
Are you saying, Sophia, that the
What I'm saying is I don't want our group to have two different statements coming from staff, one from staff and one from co-chairs, just so that they are on the same sheet of music before they speak out publicly.
I saw a thumbs up from Angie. Is there any other comments?
So did that comment lead to a change to the language at all?
I would think so. It's
Yeah,
not on.
that's what I was, my suggestion was to change the language to say coordinated with staff prior to responding to media. That's the wordage. I don't know. Yeah.
Jason, did you have a comment? Oh, I think he froze again. Commissioner Handelman?
We're looking at this whole section at once. So the thing about
I do, but it's not in response to the media comment.
Okay.
same here, because my thing is something that I wrote in my draft about the interest group section, which has to do with something that we asked the city attorney about this, and I was hoping to add, this does not include communication simply informing other groups about upcoming meetings or items posted to the commission's website, because it just seems like we shouldn't have to CC a public record when we're just sharing public information that's public already.
Jason, your comment, did it have anything to do with this?
I guess so. This item puts me in a particular bind. I speak both formally and informally to a lot of interest groups and to a lot of individuals about police reform in general, and perhaps this work of this commission, but not as a member of this commission. And I would ask that the nuance be delineated here, that we do not speak as commissioners, identify ourselves as not commissioners when we do this external work. But I would really be at odds with this if it sits the way it is now.
Maybe if we put, if you're speaking on behalf of, not to be speaking on behalf of the commission, maybe
That would be
that's a
fine.
caveat. Yeah,
speaking as a representative of the commission?
yeah, yeah.
That would be fine. And I think that comment, my comment, would really need to be also for items B and C. And I speak to members of the media almost daily about police reform issues, and but wearing a different hat. And it would be incumbent on me or anyone else doing speaking as individuals to make this very clear, and that the commission, I guess, trust us a little bit to make it very clear when we have these communications.
May I chime in? I think that's a very important point by Jason. Many of you were selected because you are active in different forums on these issues and, should be able to speak out. I think one distinction that you all should be careful of is to keep any such, kind of more personal or outside communications with the media or with other folks in the city or in the community off of your email that you have been given as a city commission member. So just kind of, if you all can kind of keep those distinctions clear, that would help also in making this distinction of when you are or are not speaking to the commission, for the commission, or as a commission member. I think that's important.
There's also the use of email here. And I have used the city email to communicate with city people about commission business, but I should never use commission email to say, hey, someone else, somewhere else, here's what I think about police reform issues.
Jason, do you have any proposed edits related to what you just said about email use?
I guess that could go into item C, that written communications, including email, use of email with use of city email. Be limited just to commission business, and that's already in our community standards, I think. But it's just good for us to remember on a regular basis. Especially as we're getting into these conversations with stakeholders, there will be people who come to us and ask us our opinions about things to try to triangulate, to try to, be mischievous. So we should just recognize that sometimes we're speaking as commissioners and sometimes we're speaking as individuals.
Commissioner Handelman.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Section D, and I had, testifying to City Council about these changes to the DOJ agreement. I had to make it really clear. Look, we were working on this before the first meeting of the commission even happened, and there's some things we were working on before the commission was even considered by council in December of 2020. So I feel like, my work report in Cop Watch predates this commission, but I am saying that every time I testify that, I'm saying this on behalf of Portland Cop Watch and not as a member of the commission. So I agree with that item D.
And there'll be some understanding about Commissioner Handelman, about myself, about Commissioner Hosseini, about Commissioner Iona, who have done this work for a while. It'll be very confusing when other members of the commission come forward as individuals versus they'll always be seen as commissioners.
Can I suggest a couple of edits for A? This does not include communications spreading. How about instead of spreading, we say disseminating information already publicly available, or communications? Well, and then I think whatever the language was there before, I think was fine, but just instead of the slash, just clarifying. Or communications, simply informing groups. So just add communications there. or directing them to the website. I think that's fine. Yeah, thank you. These were my edits.
Any other comments or edits or questions about this particular section?
If there are no further comments, I'd be happy to go through and read each edited section into the record.
Yeah,
We
and I
can
also want to put out that Jason's having issues going in and out, so just want to make sure that he's here if there is some kind of consensus.
Okay.
All right, he's back.
All right. If it's okay, I'll go through A, B, C, and D, and I'll read each one, and I'll pause afterward, and we'll see if we have consensus. That sounds good. Okay. All right. Interest groups. As edited, commissioners shall notify staff and full commission of verbal communications with interest groups. Commissioners are required to copy staff on all written communications from or to interest groups commenting on the commission's work. This does not include communications disseminating information already publicly available or communications simply informing groups of upcoming meetings or directing them to the commission website. Do we have consensus around that language? I'm seeing consensus. I'm seeing a lot of fingers.
I'm seeing consensus.
Okay. If you have any strong opposition, please unmute yourself and let it be known.
Oh,
Oh,
I
Jason.
can't see the text.
okay, there, Jason.
Okay. Jason, did we have agreement from you around item A?
I'm just getting to D because I need to read D before I agree to A.
Okay.
And yes, I agree with A. If D is agreed to as well.
Okay. Shall we go to?
Shall we pause and go to B and then circle back to A just to make sure that everyone has consensus on all three and then go back to A?
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
BCPA. All right, B, media. Media inquiries to the commission must first be directed to the co-chairs who may delegate the media response to another commissioner or to staff, coordinated with staff prior to responding to media. Commissioners are required to copy staff on all written communications from or to media commenting on the commission's work. Do we have consensus around that language? I'm seeing consensus, I'm seeing nods, I'm seeing fingers, I'm seeing heads. Okay, great. Sounds good, thank you. All right, item C. All written communications between commissioners and the general public, interest groups, and media will be retained by staff. The public and commissioners will have access to these public records. Written communications using city email will be limited to commission business. Do we have consensus or any comments? Consensus? Am I seeing consensus? All right, I'm seeing consensus. Great, wonderful. All right, item D. Members may speak on behalf of other organizations they are involved with or as an individual separate from their role as a commission member and need to make this distinction very clear each time they do so. Do we have
Dan's hand's raised.
any comments? Yeah.
I just made a little grammar proposal change there.
What's your change, Dan?
This is a commission in which we do not end our sentences with prepositions. No, so members may speak on behalf of other organizations with which they are involved. That's all, just so that we didn't end that clause with a preposition.
I agree with that.
Could also just as easily be the on behalf of serves as with which they are involved.
Commissioner Iona.
So just a quick question. Are we giving the co-chairs of this subcommittee the authority to when they sit down and read this again, if they find any little grammatical things that you can fix them without us having to have another meeting?
Yes, that is in the request for approval.
Excellent. Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Hanlon.
Yeah, so I was thinking about what Commissioner Renault was saying before about how some people are not affiliated with organizations, but I think that's okay if they are an individual and they talk to people and say, this is just my personal opinion, I'm not speaking on behalf of the, so it should say of an organization or as individuals, right? Oh, I see, it says that already.
Yeah.
Never mind. This is not more. I had a morning meeting today, and this is not how I function normally.
Do we have consensus around item D in the language that we just drafted?
I see a nodding of head of Jason and mostly spirit fingers from Marie else.
Yes, that's fine. The
Fantastic.
word vary is unnecessary, but let's proceed.
So then I guess you need to go back to A, just circle back to A just to check on consensus. I saw thumbs up from Jason, so, and everyone else gave consensus already, so we're good.
Looks good. All right, that's communications in the books. Okay, moving on, public meetings and public records.
I just want to also give a time check. It's 2:58. So likely we generally like to go and have a break around 3 for, again, for the interpreters. Can we pause here and then take a break and then get back into it?
I think that's fine.
Now, people. Commissioner Hanlon.
If I just want to sneak in here and say, in the chat, I posted the percentage vote document with the 80% added in. So for people who want to see what that looks like, it's there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Can we be back by 3:10? It's 11 minutes. Okay. Thank you, Samir.
All right, so going back to public meetings and public records. Okay, so once again, I think we have a relatively minor edit here. I'll read the language into the record as edited. Meetings of the commission and its subcommittees are open to the public and will be conducted under provisions of the Oregon Public Meetings Law, ORS 192.610-690. The staff will provide at least 7 days notice to the public regarding the dates, times, locations, and principal subjects of all meetings, and at least 24 hours notice on any special meetings.
Comments, consensus on the just read the subject, or I see everybody's fingers except for CMOB and thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, CMOB.
Consensus.
Thank you. All right. Item B, commissioners can participate through telephone or other electronic communication. Commissioners are not allowed to deliberate towards a decision over email to ensure a public decision-making process. Any comments? Dan?
Just grammar man again. I think the end clause should be the beginning clause in that last sentence, second sentence. So it says, to ensure a public decision-making process, comma, and then that reads better.
I like that edit. Any other edits? Do we have consensus around this language? I'm seeing nodding, seeing fingers. All right, good, great, thank you. If I'm ever going too fast and anyone has a strong dissenting opinion, please unmute and let me know. Just, I want to make sure I don't miss you. Okay, I think we can move on to 11, adoption and amendment of bylaws. This is a very short
I think
section. Oh, sorry.
we missed one. Yeah.
Should we wait a moment?
Yeah.
Oh, just wait a moment. Okay.
There's a part C.
Yeah. There's a part C.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the part I wasn't seeing. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All part C, all records of the commission will be maintained and open to the public according to the Oregon Public Records Law, ORS 192.311-363. 311 through 363, I assume.
I saw Jason's hands already.
Yeah.
This.
Consensus around that?
Yep. Yep. All around.
Thank you. Okay, great. All right, now we can go on to 11. Adoption and amendment of bylaws. The commission will approve these bylaws using the decision-making processes in section 5B. The commission may decide to amend or repeal these bylaws. Original bylaws created by the Police Accountability Commission on, and then blank where we would leave a blank for date of most recent approval. This would be filled in later by the full PAC. Dan?
I feel that this is a foundational document of the commission, and even though it's only going to be one vote difference in most cases, I'd like to propose that this be a 2/3 vote or 67% vote instead of the 60% from the other decision-making process. Just because I think bylaws are a more serious change.
Jason.
Yeah, the counter argument to that is that we'll be revisiting this document quite a bit and making small amendments and maybe unlikely large amendments, but to come back to the commission and be stalled on doing bylaws amendments is very different than a foundational document. I mean, so I would ask that that amendments to this bylaws not be 66% or 67%.
I'm looking at Dan's chart. Commissioner Handelman gave us a chart. And I'm looking at the difference between 60% and 66.6%. And most of the time, the difference is one person. So it is a relatively small difference.
In a vote, that's actually a large number.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask Jason for clarification so that I can make sure I understand. You want the percentage to be higher rather than lower, right?
No, I think to adopt the bylaws as we're discussing today, I think it's right to be high, and I would even ask that we have some unanimity to this, certainly consensus. But as we come back later to make amendments, there might be quite a few, and quite a few votes. And to not be able to make amendments because we can't get to a vote, that threshold should be lower.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, I think we should clarify here. Are we talking about the commission approving these bylaws with a different number than 5B, or are we talking about the second sentence, the commission amending or
sentence.
repealing these bylaws?
Oh, yeah, my proposal was around the second sentence, actually, for the amendments.
Okay, so Dan, you were proposing 67%.
Yeah, but I didn't say 67% of the commission, but I said a 2/3 vote, so it means at least 67%. So that, you know, again, referring to the chart, if there's only, whatever, 15 people present, then it would be 67% of those people. So that would be 10 out of 15, for instance. So I'm not saying that we have to reach the threshold of 14, 16 people or whatever, or 13 people when we only have 15 people present. I'm just suggesting it should be 2/3 of the people present so that it's higher than a 60% vote.
The people present for the vote or the commission. So I'm sorry.
Present for the vote. So, you know, the commission, whoever is sitting in the meeting that day, that's, you know, most of our voting, the 60%, I believe, refers to the people who are at the meeting at that time. I guess we got to flip back to that section to make sure I'm right about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it means. So, you know, if we can't come to consensus, then the vote should be 2/3 for amending or repealing the bylaws instead of 60%. That's all.
If I could jump in for a second, that is accurate, how it's written right now, but also abstentions don't count. So if it was, you know, 15 people present and 1 abstained, then it would be out of 14, 2/3 of that.
I hear that there's a division in consensus. Does anyone else want to have any comments or have any other questions?
I just wanted to make sure 5B was consensus, and if we couldn't reach consensus, then it was a vote, right?
That is my
Okay.
understanding of it. Yes.
Okay. And then you wanted to just change that percentage to 2/3 of the the commissioners present. Okay, I got it. I just was kind of squirrely in my head trying to put it all together. So maybe if we could use the same language, 5B with the voting percentage, maybe we should just specify with the agreement, because 5B with the percentage vote or something to say that is just specifically for the vote, changing the vote percentage. I don't know. It just, to me, it doesn't, I know what 5B is, but I don't know. I'm just thinking of some clear verbiage for the 2/3, just to be more. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, just where consensus fails, the vote would be by 2/3 majority.
In terms of the amendments, correct?
Right. Right.
Only amendments. That's what we're talking about. Just want to make sure people know that. Specifically amendments.
I see that it's being edited to be the adoption as well, but that's if people want to do that, maybe this should be 2 different subsections. That section A should be about adopting, and section B should be about modification and amendments. Yeah.
So Lisa, spirit fingers. Was there any other? Okay, I saw some more spirit fingers.
Sorry, need for clarification. The 2/3 majority in item B is 67%. Yeah, so I don't know.
It's 0.66%. I mean, that's what 2/3 is. So it's just, you know, there was a question before about saying a number percentage versus something else. And I said 67% before because to round it up. But, you know, there are a lot of bodies that use 2/3, and that's what I'm proposing. And those are the numbers that I have in my table. Can I screen share that at all, Samir?
Sorry?
Can you screen share that 2/3 updated document that I uploaded before,
Just a
so
moment.
we can all look together?
So Dan, just so I can understand, your argument is amending the bylaws is serious. It's a more serious action, and that's why it requires a higher standard.
Yeah, he nodded yes, just so people. So.
So you can see if for some reason there's only 11 of us at a meeting one day, then 2/3 and 60% is the same. But otherwise, it's just one extra vote in most cases. The difference between our 60% and the 2/3 threshold. But it shows a more, you know, us being closer towards consensus.
Any other comments?
Just for the sake of, just a suggestion, why don't we just, you know, 60, I'm just like, I don't like the points, whatever. That's all. I shouldn't say I don't like it, but it kind of leaves a little bit to interpretation, people rounding up or rounding down. So, so if we could just went to 70%, would that be amenable? Or
It can be. It says 2/3 in the language right now. I mean, the table just says 66.6 because it's numeric. But the language that we're voting on says 2/3 right now.
so how do folks feel about the 60s, the 2/3, or just putting it up to 70, from 66.6 to 70?
Well, I think that actually makes it harder to come to a decision. And I think one of our values ought to be effectiveness and to be able to make decisions. And I think this is, you know, polishing, well, I won't say it. I think this is making it more difficult for us, and unnecessarily.
You mean the whole changing the percentage?
I would prefer 60%.
Does anybody else that hasn't spoke want to weigh on this? Commissioner Iona? Sorry.
I think, yeah, I would be comfortable with sticking with 60% also, but I don't have strong feelings. I mean, I do feel like, you know, again, trying to get things done is important. And so I don't want to make too many barriers for ourselves.
Dan, since you were making the change, what do you think about this?
Well,
Oh,
Well,
I
you know,
want
oh,
to say,
Sophia, you're cutting out and I didn't notice that your hand was raised. So can you give a moment?
oh, my
Oh,
hand wasn't raised.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah. So Dan,
yeah, I mean, you know, if people just want to move forward, I'm not going to spend a lot of time arguing about this. I just want to go on record. I really feel like modifying our bylaws is something that is we should really take very seriously, because it could exclude people who aren't able to then make a minority report, where when we're sending our final package to City Council, we can offer a minority report, but when we're changing the bylaws, that's going to affect how we all are working together. And we have no way to get around them, because that's going to be guiding all of our actions. And that's why I think it should be a more higher threshold. But, I'll just see how, I can stand aside if other people want to just go with the regular voting method.
Sophia? Thank you.
I do agree that I think we should be quite serious when we consider changing, amending the bylaws. We're going to assume they're going to be accepted unanimity. And I don't think we need to have unanimity to change them, but I do want there to be something there that says that when we change this, it's going to have to be for something meaningful or relevant or serious, not for frivolous things. And the lower percentage may weigh to more changing than we want, of rehashing things. So I since Dan brought it up, I am considering that we can increase it. I do think it shouldn't be extremely difficult, but I don't think it should be relatively easy either, to make those changes. So I could scroll back to Dan's 2/3 and I'd be happy with it.
Anybody else want to make any comments that haven't spoke? Do people care? I know that Jason cares one way, Dan cares another. It would be great to hear other people's voices.
Just point of clarification, I said I could stand aside on
Oh
it.
yeah, you said
But
you
it
could stand aside.
also might be an interesting time for us to exercise the we can't come to consensus thing and try voting and see how things come out.
Angie?
I don't know if you were asking me directly, but I haven't said very much. But for this one, I feel like we are putting a lot of time into these bylaws, and coming back to them will be kind of a serious thing. Not that they shouldn't be amendable, but I'm hoping that we don't have too many amendments to it, just because we have so many other jobs to do moving forward, and hopefully we are going to create these bylaws in a way and such that they are flexible enough that we can move forward without having to amend them too often. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. And since this commission or this subcommittee hasn't approved this yet, we're still on a consensus basis as far as Dan's suggestion. So just gonna put that out there.
Can I hear from Jason again? Or Louisa's want to say something? I just wanted to see what Jason's been thinking since.
Louisa?
I just wanted to say I could stand aside either way. This is an important decision. However, in a sense, all of the decisions that the commission is going to be voting on will be important, and 60% is, we decided, a good enough standard for the rest of those decisions. But I can certainly see Commissioner Handelman's point, and I would happily stand aside on 67%.
So just procedurally speaking, my understanding is we're going to be using the modified consensus from this document to vote on these at the main meeting. We did vote on that section already. We've made that decision about how we're going to make decisions. So I would like to, I think procedurally, I'd like to see if the co-chairs would entertain us trying to vote on this just so we can move forward and actually see how that process works.
Well, I would turn it back over to the group and see, do we have consensus around taking a vote?
I think I would like to see that we are either on record, we're on record as being in consensus or not in consensus before we go to a vote.
I am not seeing.
I'm not
Well,
seeing
actually,
anything.
let's back up and just ask if we have consensus around either of these options first. So, as written, as edited. A, the commission will approve these bylaws using the modified consensus decision-making processes in section 5B. We don't have any edits, any substantial edits to that right now. And I see consensus around that language. B, the commission may decide to amend or repeal these bylaws using the modified consensus decision-making process in section 5B with the agreement of at least a 2/3 majority. Do we have consensus around that language as proposed?
Can I go back to the A? Sorry. I just wanted to make sure because I see it on the screen again. The commission will approve these bylaws by using the modified consensus decision-making process. I'm gonna ask, why don't we have the option of consensus there? Or is that, am I misinterpreting modified consensus?
I think you're missing.
So it's the entire modified consensus decision-making process from 5B that we were looking at, where it's like consensus is the first option, and then if consensus fails, then we go to voting and we go to the 60%.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure I understood that, and I didn't want to get let us get too far in B before I made sure I understood. So I'm good with it.
No problem. Thanks. All right, coming back to B, using modified consensus decision-making, but with the change of a 2/3 majority vote in order to amend or repeal the bylaws. Do we have consensus around that edit, around that language?
I'm okay with it.
So I've seen Sophia and Angie.
Would perhaps a better way to ask if there's an absence or strong opposition here.
Is there any strong
Josh,
opposition?
Okay.
Does
You're
everyone
Jason?
just need a candy bar? I understand.
Well, Jason, I heard you were speaking, but you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I would strongly oppose as written.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have strong opposition. Shall we ask it the other way? Without the edit, without the proposed edit. So as it was originally written, the commission may decide to amend or repeal these bylaws using the modified consensus decision-making processes in section 5B. Do we have consensus around that issue?
Okay,
Okay, I'm seeing CMOB, Debbie, Jason.
Angie has a question.
Sorry, and for clarification, that just means that we have to have 60% instead of 2/3, correct? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
That is correct. That is correct. Do we have strong opposition on this language?
No, I just wanted to ask Jason if he could. I know he said no, but I hear a little more. If he could explain a little bit more about between 60 and 67%, and how that makes. How is that? How do you feel about that when it's not? I'm saying it either way. It's not a big difference. I guess I could go backwards, but I think the whole point is just to make sure people understand this is a little bit different. So I just wanted to hear if you had another comment before I make my vote. I want to hear from you.
I don't have another comment. Thanks.
So I would like to propose that some verbiage be included here to suggest that this is, we not to take these votes, I guess, very seriously when we do consider changing or amending. Because my point is not the percentage of votes. It's just that the emphasis that we don't want to frivolously, just keep changing these.
So are you asking for language that says that there should be that as far as changing bylaws, that it be of major value to the majority of the commission, something along the lines like that?
Yes, something like that.
How do people feel about adding some language to that effect? Maybe we can see some language real quick.
Did somebody suggest that language?
Okay. I'm gonna muddle through it. Something stated such that modifying consensus when necessary to conduct the business of the commission, something of that nature. Or that would prevent the commission from conducting business. I don't know. I need some help.
Sure, Sophia, do you mean modifying the bylaws?
Amending the bylaws.
Amending the bylaws?
Yeah, when necessary. I mean, I don't mind modifying them. And I'm not really here or there about the percentage. I just want to emphasize the seriousness that when we're going to amend something, it's going to be something that we can't do without, right? We can't conduct our business without that change. Not just because, oh, I just like to have this change in, 60%. We can actually live with it. We might be able to go around it, but some people just like, I just like to see it changed. And I don't want it to be frivolous. I want it to be, we're making this decision because it's stopping us from doing our jobs, right? And not just something frivolous, just like we do in our Constitution. You just don't go in and amend the Constitution for something frivolous. So I do think it's very serious when you make these changes, and somehow we need to put that in there, that it's because we can't do our jobs that we need to change these. It's not because it's nice to have.
Thank you, Sophia. Dan, you have your hand up, and I also just wanted to give you all a time check of 3:42, and we have a pretty large section still remaining.
I understand that. I agree with the language that was proposed by Commissioner Glenn, but I think we should just put that clause at the beginning. When necessary to conduct the business of the commission, comma, the commission may decide to amend or repeal these bylaws. That reads better again.
I see consensus fingers from Angie, Lavisa, and CMOB, Debbie. Dan, was that you too? Yes. Jason? So that's a no, yes? You're on mute.
All right, I'll stand aside on that.
Thank you.
Let me go back to the text.
Yes, if I could just ask that before getting to asking for consensus, if just let the typing get finished and then switch over so that everybody can see it for the record. Sorry, just to slow down a little bit, please.
Sure. It's okay, we're doing a lot very fast. All right, so this language has edited when necessary to conduct the business of the commission. The commission may decide to amend or repeal these bylaws using the modified consensus decision-making processes in section 5B. Jason?
I just want to be on record. I think this is an unnecessary modification. I think every item in the bylaws is doing the business of the commission. It's fine. It makes the same sense. The sentence makes the same sense without the preamble.
Thank you, Jason. Do we have consensus around this language? All right, I'm seeing a lot of waving fingers. Do we have any strong opposition? No strong opposition. All right. Thank you. I think that is that section done. All right, so flipping back, if you have a physical copy, it's page 3. We're going to be going to general operating procedures, item 6. All right, strap yourselves in. We have a few of Catherine's edits under item A, creating a respectful and inclusive space. I'll go ahead and read the edited language. The Police Accountability Commission will develop community standards to create an inclusive and welcoming environment during the Commission's work. The Commission will reinforce its commitment to a respectful and inclusive space by acknowledging the community standards as needed. Seeing some fingers. Do we have consensus around this language?
Yes.
Thank you. Gesundheit, Sophia. All right,
Oh,
fantastic.
sorry, my speaker's still on, sorry.
Thank you, everyone. All right. B, disclosure of conflicts of interest. The proposed edited language is commissioners are required to comply with the entirety of Oregon revised statutes, Chapter 244, Government Ethics, and Portland City Code, Chapter 103, Code of Ethics, including disclosures of conflicts of interest. A commissioner is required to make an announcement of the nature of a conflict of interest each time the issue giving rise to the conflict of interest is discussed or acted upon.
That second part's actually in the next subsection.
Oh,
Edited language now, it's down here. So,
okay. Okay, so let's look just at the blue edited language. Any discussion? Any comments? Do we have consensus?
Yes, it looks like we have consensus.
Great, thank you. All right. Item 2, language as edited. The announcement needs to be made by a commissioner on each occasion when the commissioner is met with the conflict of interest. For example, a commissioner would have to make the public announcement one time when met with the conflict of interest, but only one time in each meeting of the commission. If the matter giving rise to the conflict of interest is raised at another meeting, the disclosure must be made again at that meeting.
Commissioner Handelman.
Yeah, the comment that's listed above as referring to the paragraph about, or the section about commissioners' announcement, to me that says something that this paragraph says, and my side comment was actually about this paragraph. When I was going through the bylaws, I find this overly confusing, and it's basically saying the same thing as that other paragraph in a lot more words. So I think we should just leave that shorter one and get rid of this one. That's my proposal.
Thank you. Jason?
I would agree, and if we use the section 2 as the edited, that's operating language, not bylaws language.
Okay, I see Dan and Angie's hands. Debbie as well. Jason, CMOBs. Sophia? Okay. So I think people are in agreement with that statement. Lavisa?
Oh, yes, I'm in.
I'm just checking to see if you're okay with.
Yeah, I just wanted, yeah, I'm
with also just checking to see if is everyone okay with consensus, but I was also, giving you the floor to do so.
sure, yeah, I was going to say, and I can see everyone. I'm using split screen, so yeah.
Okay.
Do we have consensus around that series of changes? That's what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I wish I had a split screen. I keep getting in and out when everything gets changed back and forth because I have one screen. So I'm going to get another one.
I'm just using the Zoom view.
Yeah, but yeah, mine, it does that too, but every time he goes back into full screen, like, because I also am looking at chat and everything else too, it changes back and forth. So it's a little bit difficult to track, a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to get another screen. Anyway, side note.
All right, so moving on. Next item, I think this is mostly a small change. The edited language is staff are obligated to record and keep all conflicts of interest that are announced during each meeting. How do folks feel about that?
See a thumbs up. Looks like everybody's good with that one.
Mm-hmm. All right. If it is found that a commissioner did not disclose a conflict of interest, staff must alert the other members of the commission to the conflict of interest of the instance as soon as the occurrence is known. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's see. If it is found that the commissioner did not disclose a conflict of interest, staff must alert the other members of the commission to the instance of the conflict of interest as soon as the occurrence is known.
Maybe.
This just seems like there's too many words in it. Could it just say, if it is found that a commissioner did not disclose a conflict of interest, staff must alert the other members of the commission. When that conflict is known, or as soon as the conflict is known. Yeah, so that, just see if that sounds a little less wordy, but says the same thing.
So the proposed edit would be, if it is found that a commissioner did not disclose a conflict of interest, staff must alert the other members of the commission as soon as the conflict is known. I think that's fine. I would support that edit. Their thoughts?
Jason?
Yeah, sorry, again, digging into details. We'll assume that the person who has the conflict of interest does not agree that they have a conflict of interest. That's why they didn't say they had a conflict of interest. And the staff at some point discovers this conflict of interest. And now the staff is determining that it is a conflict of interest. Is that what I'm reading?
Dan?
I could say it a different way. How is a conflict of interest determined?
Right, you're right, this is written in a passive voice, if it is found. And it doesn't say who finds it or how that's determined or whether there's an appeal process for the person being accused of it. So you are correct, Commissioner Renaud, that's a good catch.
I'm fine with the staff person determining the conflict of interest based on the state or rules that we've agreed upon, but we should just say it in a non-passive voice. We should just state what we mean.
And then I saw Sophia, and then Dan, is your hand still up, or did, no, okay.
My thought is, initially what I thought about this is the person who willingly does not divulge that. That was my first thought. Even if they didn't know it and it's brought to their attention, I don't see where there's any, at least in this paragraph, any repercussions. If they're found and they didn't realize it, they can dismantle that, right? But if they're doing it willfully, I mean, we don't know. Even if they don't know, they're still doing it, right? So it doesn't really matter which way, whether they know about it, or they're aware of it, or they're not aware of it. I would hope that the person who found it out would question them about it, and it would get resolved before it even came to this point. But, I don't know. I think either way, known or unknown, conflicts.
Thank you, Sophia. Any other comments? Were you asking? Oh, thank you, Debbie. Debbie, you had your hand raised.
So I was just curious, does anybody remember who worked on this section and where that passage came from? I mean, was it in the Charter Commission's rules or bylaws template, or did it come out of state law?
I saw it in the Charter Commission.
It was came from the Charter Commission, okay.
That's where I saw that.
I mean, that's pretty much standard for, federal work.
So were you asking for a change of language, Sophia, in the text?
No, I was just commenting, clarifying the comment that Jason made about saying that he thought, if they didn't know And my thought was, I think it applies to whether you knew you had a conflict of interest, or willfully, willfully or not. Sometimes we don't realize that we have a conflict of interest, and someone may bring that to our attention. But I think this goes for both cases, known and unknown.
Dan,
That was my concern.
sorry about that, Sophia. Thank you,
Well,
Sophia.
going back to the language that we're looking at, I think it should say, if staff determines there is a potential conflict of interest, they will first alert the suspected member, and then if it's determined that the conflict is not resolvable, we'll bring it to the attention of the rest of the commission. So I think that gives us that kind of interim step of addressing it with the person in question first, and then if they don't agree that it's a conflict of interest, then bring it to the commission. Does that make sense?
I see a nod from Sophia. I see spirit fingers from CMOB, Angie, Louisa.
Staff here for a second, if I could propose a different word besides suspected, like potentially conflicted, something to that effect, so that it doesn't appear as though it's a judicial type of proceeding here.
Much better.
Yep.
Something like that, or a better language if you have it.
I saw Dan's hands in agreement.
I like potentially conflicted. I think that's serviceable.
How I feel every day.
I feel suspected every day.
I just want to give everyone a time check of 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Anita. All right, so looking at this language, our current edits.
And I'm sorry, this is the interpreter. If I can just make an announcement.
Sure.
Our other interpreter had to leave. We were scheduled until 4, so just wanted to let you know that I'm on my own.
Do you need a break?
I'm okay for now, but if it goes on a whole lot longer, I will need.
Yeah, I was gonna do like one at like 15 after if it was long, if we needed to.
Perfect.
Great.
Happy hands here.
Good. Thank you.
All right, so looking at this language, so instead of the edited language read earlier, the language would read, if staff determines that there is a potential undisclosed conflict of interest, they will first notify the potentially conflicted member. If it is determined that the conflict is not resolvable, staff will bring it to the attention of the rest of the commission. All right, I see hands.
Yep, I think I saw everyone.
I see consensus around that.
I think the cat too.
Okay, last section under conflict of interest. Thank you, Samir, for your highlighting and edits. Any potential or actual conflict of interest noted by staff will be included in the quarterly reports provided to City Council.
Lots of fingers.
I see fingers.
Staff's hands up.
Yeah, just a quick note, the edit that's proposed changed it from recommendation reports, which would be a one-time report at the end, you can see in the earlier area, to quarterly reports. Just making sure everyone's aware, and that means that this would be done quarterly instead of once in the scenario where it comes up.
Thank you, Samir.
People okay with that? Yeah. Okay, I see everybody. I think the only person I didn't see is Angie. Okay.
All right, looking at the time, it is 4 o'clock. We had warned people that this meeting would run long. I think it might be possible to get through some of this work, depending on how quickly we move. How are folks feeling? Did folks feel like they want to keep moving forward? I'm seeing some nodding.
See all nods. I would just,
Does anyone
And-
absolutely have to leave early or leave on time?
I would just, if it goes too long at 15 after, I would like to give the interpreter a break.
So Lavisa, may I ask, how much more and how long do you think it would take? Considering our rate that we're already at.
All right, so the sections that we have left are modified consensus decision-making, use of technology to facilitate remote meetings, and public participation.
Okay. I know I have a hard stop at 4:45. So just want to let you guys know that one.
Thank you. Okay. CMOB says his hard stop is 5 minutes away.
I just need to observe that knowing the scheduling survey results, if the group does not recommend a set of draft bylaws to the full commission, that's within the subcommittee's right to do so. But I want everyone to know for a fact that that would mean that either we're scheduling another meeting of the full commission to look at not fully completed bylaws, or we're scheduling another meeting of the subcommittee. Either way, that would be in April because of availability. All remaining dates that would have enough people available to make a quorum are used already for meetings this month. So we could perhaps just start reading the next section and go as fast as is possible.
Debbie?
I just was curious, I hear Sophia has to leave, but if the rest of us want to stay a little longer, is that okay? Or would that be breaking some rules?
There's no rule as long as you retain at least 5 people on the subcommittee present.
Okay, thanks.
We currently have 7, and I believe CMOB said he was leaving in 5 minutes.
And there's just this little last section. So again, I suggest instead of discussing the time, just to use it.
Move forward.
All right. Thanks everybody for giving your consent. All right, so on the topic of modified consensus decision-making, we have some edited language proposed here. Some of this we've talked about before. The commission will make decisions collaboratively. All viewpoints will be honored, respected, and have appropriate time for consideration to make a decision on any proposal or matter. And then we have some edits here. Either one member shall formulate a proposal or a co-chair shall create a proposal based on commission discussion. Commissioners shall be able to propose modifications to the proposal until a consensus position can be reached And then this is another edit. Is this an alternate edit?
No, everything in the box would be collectively in there except the one or the other of the two red highlight cards. So this whole thing plus either this or this.
Okay, thank you. All right. Commissioners will deliberate on proposals and consider the commission's identified values and principles. After deliberation, commissioners will identify whether they are supportive, neutral, or in opposition. If all commissioners are supportive or neutral, the proposal or matter passes. So that's the first part. And then our original language had said if any commissioner is in opposition to a proposal, commissioners will take a vote or table the proposal. And the proposed edit to that is if any commissioner is in opposition to a proposal, commissioners will discuss the item further to try to achieve consensus. If consensus is not achievable, the commissioners will either vote on the proposal or table it. So adding in discussion before vote or table. I see Debbie's hands.
Fingers. Andy's.
So just
Debbie is done talking for the day. She's just wiggling her fingers from now on.
so just to clarify, is that finger waggling in support of
When you read that whole thing out loud, I don't know, it sounded quite reasonable to me.
Okay, both sets of edits. Do we have any strong opposition to any part of this? Taking a look at the language.
Vote fast so CMOB can be here.
Dan?
Well, I don't know if we're going to have time once we get this done, or maybe even before we propose this to the rest of the commission to talk about that idea of consensus. I'm going to try to say this in the best way I can. That sometimes, I'll use myself as an example with the chair vice chair thing. Like I felt very, very strongly that we should have a chair and vice chair, but I stood aside on that as long as I understood that we're going to have, you know, the 3 co-chair thing, and then co-chair Glenn had some problems with that, but then realized that everybody else was kind of on board with that, and that the chair and vice chair structure was being thrown out. So I think a lot of consensus is letting go of your strong feelings sometimes and seeing that you can compromise and they can compromise and come up with the final thing. I think that's kind of said here by saying commission's identified values and principles. But I kind of feel like maybe just re-emphasize, you know, in the spirit of compromise and coming to, you know, a decision that everybody can be part of or something like that. I don't know.
CMOB.
Yes, I think a community agreement that I've always worked with whenever I've facilitated meetings was always confront oppression. And Jason, this is multiple times that you've actually mentioned my ability to be available when present. Please don't do that again. I don't find it funny anymore. And yeah, would greatly appreciate it. I think we all have a great intrinsic and extrinsic value that we bring to the forum. And I will show up in places in ways that will be incredibly valuable to us as a group. And if sometimes I'm a little bit more quiet, it's because there's a lot more greater cooks in the kitchen. And I truly appreciate everybody's value here. But don't question when mine is not loud enough when you need it to be. Thank
I'd
you.
like to apologize to Samid for what I said, and I did not
Simab.
mean. I apologize, Simab, for what I said. I did not mean to say that you weren't present. My intention was to say we could vote so that you could vote also if we voted quickly.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think, you know, we go by majority consensus. And so if a vote of mine is missed, but at the same time I'm present and we have a consensus, then I think we have motion. But I am here listening.
Thank you,
Seema.
CMOB.
Thank you. Do we have consensus around this first set of edits, the blue edits? Yes, I'm seeing consensus. I'm seeing smiles. Great. Do we have consensus around the second edit, the edit which would invite further discussion before a vote or a tabling? I think I'm seeing consensus. Dan?
I just like to put in the parking lot that we should think about how it's determined when that discussion, when it's time to cut off the discussion. Because it could be the opposition was already known, and then we ask for more discussion, we've already discussed it. So it's just something to think about if we get some guidelines for the people running the meeting, how many tries we're going to get to consensus before we go to a vote or table it, but not in the bylaws.
Thank you, Dan. I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks, Dan, for that, in the spirit of consensus building, that was a good caveat. I liked that in there because there's going to be a lot of hard things that we're going to have to do. And we're not going to agree totally with everything that goes on. But the point is in the spirit of compromise. And that's what consensus is. It's, can I live with it? Can I not live with it? And if I can't live with it, to be expressive of as to why, and be open to suggestions for rectifying those issues that you may have or someone may have. So I like that. And it just kind of makes it a reminder, because I really, truly want this commission to be different than the other different bodies working on this kind of work. I don't know about other folks, but I think that we have an opportunity to build something so much better, and compromising and listening to each other is one of the things that we probably have that some of the other groups do not have. So I want us to keep that and build from that. And I think we're going to have a much better product at the end if we all stay on that level. Thanks. So thanks for my soapbox.
Thank you. I just wanted to check one last time. Do we have consensus around this entire set of language, including Dan's in the spirit of compromise edition? Great.
I see consensus.
I'm seeing consensus. Wonderful.
I also want to check in with our interpreter. Do your hands need a break, or can you push through? Okay, let's take the break.
Just 5 minutes is fine.
Yep. All right, then we'll take 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank
Hard
you.
21. See you all there. Can we start? Thank you. Lavisa?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I realized I was like, I'm not actually sure. Yeah, Jason, I think, has dropped off.
Oh,
So
we need to wait for him to come back. There is still, there are 5 of you still, so you
I was gonna say we still have 5, I believe.
Yeah,
So
you still have quorum, so you can continue.
okay, that was my question. Thanks. All right, great. Let's better press on. D, use of technology to facilitate remote meetings, mostly deleting some stuff here. The proposed edited language is during all meetings conducted via teleconference, questions or comments about the commission's work shall be stated verbally and not written in the chat. Policy-related items written in the chat shall be made accessible to the public in attendance. Dan?
Yeah.
Well, I think it should be okay, particularly when some commissioners or audience members are unable to connect with audio. It should be okay to put it in the chat, but just that it has to be read into the record somehow. Does that make sense? So that we're not forbidding people from putting stuff in the chat, just that anything that's put in the chat that is relevant to the work needs to be read into the record.
So could it say shall be stated verbally if written in the chat?
Yes. In order to make it accessible to the public, yeah.
Okay, so the edits would read, during all meetings conducted via teleconference, questions or comments about the commission's work written in the chat shall be stated verbally in order to make it accessible to the public in attendance. Make them accessible.
We shorten it just a little bit.
I say the chat or equivalent function, since we have the Q&A also.
Should I say stated verbally for accessibility to the public? Maybe just not make it so wordy.
All right, during all meetings conducted via teleconference, questions or comments about the commission's work written in the chat or equivalent function shall be stated verbally for accessibility to the public in attendance.
I would pull out the in attendance part because it's also for the people who are watching the video later.
Agreed. All right. One last time. During all meetings conducted via teleconference, questions or comments about the commission's work written in the chat or equivalent function shall be stated verbally for accessibility to the public. Do we have consensus around that language? Looks like we have consensus. Looks like Jason is back with us. Welcome back, Jason. We just got consensus around the first item under use of technology to facilitate remote meetings with a few edits. All right, the polling function will be used only to determine if commissioners are ready for a formal decision or if more deliberation is needed. Dan, what was that hand? I don't know what that hand was.
I'm fine with that, but we don't have access to the polling thing, so I think it's fine to put that in there, but I've never seen it. I don't know what it is.
Samir, do you want to chime in here?
It's something that you can put in place to take specific questions. It's used often in like very large Zoom meetings, webinars, et cetera. But the goal of that limitation from charter review commissions bylaws was to ensure that it's not used to actually cast votes, because the vote will then not be synced up with the record of the video. It's just like there at the end. So that rule is there to ensure that voting is visible to members of the public and not something where the result is simply announced by the facilitator. At least that's what they told us.
Thanks. Can we, yeah, go back to the text and just look at it. I think that's fine to me. Should we ever use the polling function, we'll have a bylaw governing its use. Any strong opposition to this language? Do we have consensus around this language, using this language? All right, looks good. Thank you. All right, next section. All remote meetings will provide at least minimal accessibility, e.g. closed captioning. Meetings will be recorded to increase transparency and accessibility. Recordings will be uploaded to the commission website within 1 week. Dan?
Well, I'm not sure I completely understood Samir's comment before about the new city website. The other groups use Facebook or YouTube to post their videos. So I don't know that we should specify that our video should be posted to the commission's website, but it should be posted to the web, for sure, and then linked to the website. And I don't know, maybe Samir can explain to us if there's some reason why these videos can't be put on YouTube, as these other groups have done, like PCCEP.
Dan, did you say that last word you said was PSEP?
Yeah, but except I said PCCEP because we don't call ourselves well, we try not to call ourselves the PAC, and we don't talk about the IPR and the Kirk. So I say
Okay.
PCCEP.
Okay. PCCEP is on the old website model that is in the process of being migrated over to the new one. And the videos are in the process of being re-uploaded. There's a challenge, without throwing another part of the city under the bus, there's a challenge to say exactly what the thing is, but there's access at this stage. The issue is access to a particular account to upload the videos to and then embed the videos, as opposed to uploading them directly to the website. It's a delay that should not have happened, and as soon as that is resolved and access is given to staff specific to the division supporting this commission, that'll get resolved.
Thank you, Samir. Any additions or edits to Dan's language?
I would agree with Dan to change from website to web, just to expedite this. Posted online is fine.
Posted online. Okay, so as edited, all remote meetings will provide at least minimal accessibility, e.g. closed captioning. Meetings will be recorded to increase transparency and accessibility. Recordings will be posted online within 1 week. Do we have consensus around that language? I'm seeing a lot of consensus. Great, terrific. I think no strong opposition. All right, great. Wonderful. Terrific. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for your stamina on this meeting today. All right. This is the last section of operating procedures, public participation. Okay, so our edits are in blue. The Commission values public participation, involvement, engagement, co-creation, and collaboration. Members of the public will have opportunity to comment prior to all major decisions, as well as when public comment is included in meeting agendas. All written comments sent by postal mail or email will be circulated to the commissioners.
Debbie?
Oh, yes, sorry, your voice is so quiet.
Yeah,
So-
sorry, I'm starting to lose it, so.
It's okay. No, so I would like to suggest changing one word in this, and where it says major decisions, I would rather see us say like substantive decisions or something that's a kind of a ratchet down from major, because when I read that, I think the only thing people will get a comment on is when we finally come up with the code package, because that seems major to me. But to me, if we're voting on things or taking consensus on things that aren't things like, oh, should we adjourn now or do we want to approve the minutes? I would like to give the public a chance to weigh in.
I see folks agreeing with you. I
Thank you,
guess
Debbie.
we need to go back to the text.
Okay, so with that edit, it would say the commission, it would read, the commission values public participation, involvement, engagement, co-creation, and collaboration. Members of the public will have opportunity to comment prior to all substantive decisions, as well as when public comment is included in meeting agendas. All written comments sent by postal mail or email will be circulated to commissioners. How do folks feel about that language? Do we have consensus around that language with Debbie's edit? Substantive? Yep.
Yep.
All right, great. I'm seeing waving fingers. There actually is one more section underneath here, quite short. F, the commission may agree on additional operating policies to be included in a separate document.
So thumbs
Guys,
up.
do we have consensus around that?
Yep.
Yay! Terrific, amazing, wow, wonderful. Stupendous.
See a lot of green.
Yeah, green means go.
Dan,
So,
that's a question.
So since we still have several of us here till 4:45, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but I just want to understand, especially because it sounds like it might not be resolved before April when we start digging into the actual commission, I mean the board. Is there a way for you, staff, Samir, to post the videos of these meetings somewhere on the internet so that people can watch them until the stuff with the new city website gets resolved? Yes, that was my question before, but I didn't want to take time on our bylaws discussion to ask that question.
There, staff for this commission is waiting on access to a city account that would allow for that to happen and does not yet have it. Another part of the city is supposed to send that to us. That is the delay. That should be resolved hopefully this week. The reason that it got done so late is because the suggestions that we were getting from other commissions were solutions that worked for the old website model, not the new one. And that's the only thing that people who were giving us advice were trained on. Now that there's a new migration, you can see that the PCCEP example is illuminative in the sense that the videos broke and then had to get re-uploaded using a different structure. As far as I'm aware, I don't know all the details. I'm not an IT person, but that's what I was told because I was never trained in the old one. Waiting on access to this new account to be able to upload it and then embed it into the website, because uploads directly to the website don't work.
Yes, Debbie.
And then I just wanted to bring up one thing before we end, is it possible for us to make an official, I don't know, official survivor, but a more formal request of Sarah Ames through Samir to ask her to do some more research on this quorum business. I think, you know, she sounded like that was something that she could possibly do, is, you know, find out some more, you know, see if there's a way around it to make it so that we're not hamstrung.
At this point, I don't really see any avenues for, you know, further ways to get around it so that you're not hamstrung. I think the most direct way to address it is by working with the council in one of those ways that was suggested, either, you know, perhaps if they wish to authorize less of a quorum, that might be an option, and I could research that if you want to pursue that. Otherwise, you know, ensuring that you have prompt replacement members appointed, and or they reduce the size of the commission officially from 20 seats down to the number that they can responsibly fill.
Thanks. Sorry, I just have to say, I didn't realize you were still here. I didn't mean to speak of you the way I did when I asked you
No,
that question. You're just invisible. So, okay. All right. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm happy to be invisible. I just, the way this Zoom meeting is set up, you can't, unless you're tracking, I think maybe you can see the participants, but I can't see myself.
That's,
either,
yeah, that's
so.
okay. Thanks.
Not when you're on the phone. Jason, and then Christine has her hand up as well.
I'd like to make a proposal that the subcommittee ask the full commission to send a letter to city council explaining this problem of quorum and our concern, and asking for them to resolve the problem. And that we have a draft of that letter to show to the commission by the next full commission meeting. It could just be a very brief, you know, here's the problem. We don't have a solution. We need some help here.
I just want to time check people. We're going to lose another person here soon. So I would like to refer this today just so this can be actually completed with the quorum here. Christine. And then Dan, no?
I'll wait until after Dan, because I really want you to finish this part, and then
Yes,
I'll
this
do the
needs to be
parking lot
finished
part.
first.
That's
Thank
fine. Mhm.
Well, so we haven't done the general operating procedures yet, and I'm hoping that this subcommittee is not going to be dissolved until we have started working on that or finished working on it. But at one of my groups, we have a rule that says we should means you're going to do it. So Commissioner Renaud, are you going to draft up that letter?
I'm glad to do that. I would want assistance from our staff. But I would like to hear from this group that there's some agreement that we should do that.
In the event the group requested that a draft be created, I'd be happy to help Jason and Lavisa as well as the co-chairs of this subcommittee to do that.
Let me see if there's consensus for drafting a letter and putting it on the agenda for the full commission. I see consensus. Thank you. Samir, let's get to work.
Oh, congratulations, everyone, for completing this work, or at least this portion of the work. Just because we do have people in the audience, I'm going to go over this stuff for public comment. Let's see here. Sorry, y'all. In referencing today, the subcommittee has completed decision on this document, and next on the agenda is discussing whether the subcommittee should recommend this document with all the changes we've made today incorporated into the text to the full commission for its consideration at meetings later this month. There's a potential agreement document that was circulated that gives some context as to this decision, including that it is not the commission's bylaws until the full commission decides to agree to it. Before seeing if there is consensus, before seeing if there is consensus around recommending this document to the full commission, we're going to hear from the public. After that, we would ask the members if they would like to make a final tweak, and then ask if they are ready, and then asked if they are ready to make recommendations. So let's see, just to make sure. I see one person. We asked the public keep their comments 90 seconds in length and keep their comments focused on the draft of bylaws. You can raise your hand using the Zoom, when you'd like to be called. Okay. I am not seeing anybody's hands. Would any of the members of the subcommittee like to revisit any portion of this document? Wonderful. In a moment, I would like to ask if there is consensus around recommending this document onto the full commission for consideration later this month. Members of the subcommittee are also members of the full commission and are welcome to raise any point there that they'd like, as it will be discussed in the full commission once more before the full commission considers and ideally approves the document. Additionally, members of the public can weigh in during public comment at the full commission when they consider this document as well. Is there consensus around allowing the full commission to begin discussing this document? Yes, I see consensus. We'll ask, okay. I know that you had a question or you had something to say. Christine, I want to make sure that that's out.
Yeah, I just wanted to, yep. Just wanted to review the parking lot agenda that I have been keeping track of. I'm going to share my screen if I may be able to. I put this, and with the help of the staff, I have put this into a document that we can send around to each other. And so we have a running list of what has been discussed by the bylaws committee. Today, we added draft a letter to council regarding quorum requirements, asking for their help. There was full consensus of the bylaw commission to draft the language. How do we end a discussion on an issue? How do co-chairs gavel an issue closed? Define gross violation in operating procedures. And when is it time to cut off the discussion? How many tries do we take at gaining consensus? Were the 4 new things that I added into the parking lot. I will send this out at the end of the meeting and be able to, just be able to keep track of what we're doing here. Anything else that I missed? I may have missed today. I'll stop sharing.
Could we create another subcommittee just to deal with the parking lot? That's going to be a big pileup soon.
The commission may decide to do that.
Thank you, everyone. I was muted. Oh, I see Angie has her hand up before we go.
It's just to thank you to everybody. Everybody has done, everyone, facilitators, commissioners, Samir, just thank you all. We got through it. Yay. Thank you. And we didn't even have to have candy bars. Yay.
Interpreters, thank you, interpreters. Thank you.
Interpreters, sis. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. I would like to thank everyone again, and adjourn this meeting. Have a
Thank
great rest of your day.